Hey guys, I'm back. So, I almost went too far in this. I am making another Pip-Boy 3000 from Fallout 3, and I know for some reason, whenever a new game comes out, you're not allowed to make an old prop from an older version of that game or movie. Right. I've never understood that. People, as soon as I made this one, people, why don't you just make the new one? Like, I don't know. I don't understand it. But so I told you guys how I made this one. Now I'm making another one for a friend because they really thought this one was cool. So I'm gonna go through the steps and actually show you what I'm doing. Obviously, I'm gonna pause the video whenever I actually glue the thing down because I don't have a tripod or any of that cool stuff yet. But I'm doing a different way, a different style. One because I'm just testing it out, and two, I thought it would be cool to show you an alternative way because there's a lot of different ways to make a Pip-Boy. So I'm leaving this over here as a reference, and also I just finished making my tube laser thingy, which I'll do that in a new video. So I got that as a reference. I shouldn't be referencing off of my own build, but I don't want to make it better, so to say. I know I can do better. I'm not saying that this is the best you can do. It's just I want them to look identical, because once I make it like that, I don't I try not to stray too far from the original idea, because that means, I get better and then I get better and then I get better. So then if I give someone something and then I make something that same exact thing for someone else, I know what I messed up on the previous one, or not really what I messed up on them, but what I could improve. So that means I can make it stronger or something. So I'm not saying that I try and make it crappy at first and then leave it crappy. But some of you will probably understand. So what I did so far is I got another Pringles can because it's the only way that I can make the thing so far. I know the arm is a little bit more bulky, but I honestly don't like that because in the game they make it look super bulky, but at the same time small on your character. It's kind of weird. So I try and make it the screen as bulky as it's supposed to be, but the arm piece I try to slim it down as much as I can without it being just a sleeve. So I'm going to be using these always. I can use a full length for most people, and it is a little bit wonky, but it kind of flexes, and it's all right. So what I did is on the inside, you can kind of see the lines there. You measure out your arm, okay, and you want this lip to stay here if you're making the 3000, because it kind of gives it a really nice touch. Um, but yeah, so what you want to do is slide it on your arm and keep going all the way up until it kind of hits your forearm, and it stops. Now, if you're a slender guy like me, this is going to help. Now, if you're someone with a bigger structure, you're a little bit more muscular, or you're just bigger, and I hope that's not offending anyone, then you might have to take different steps. But if you're like slim like me, I'm not a very big guy, you just slide it on all the way up until it kind of just wants to stop. And you kind of measure out where it stops, and you measure out how far it is on your hand. So let's say I put it on stops, because it's gonna stop at about the same spot for everyone. That's about my size. You just keep going though until it's too small to go up any higher. So in my case, I could keep going until I hit about my knuckle, full thing. So you want to measure that distance from your knuckle a little bit past your wrist, because you want to be able to do this stuff. Because a lot of people, whenever they make any kind of gauntlet, they'll have it ride all the way up to the wrist, and they can't hardly move their hand, maybe a little bit, but they don't have as much free wrist movement. Yeah, it looks a little weird, but honestly, I like being able to move my hand. So you measure down from wherever it stops on your hand, and if it does do the whole, oh, I can't do this, measure that too, until where you think you would be able to. Um, and then you measure that length, and you go to the bottom and you cut that section off until what you want is I don't have a ruler right now. I know three. All right, so this is about 6-7 inches wide. Okay. Again, you can have your own. I don't try to make it specific, but 6-7 inches. That's about how wide you want the initial piece to be. Okay. a little bit wider because the screen's going to be smaller than the piece. So you want the initial piece to stay 7 inches. Now, obviously, I'm not making mine to where it can fit my phone. So if that's the case, then measure out your phone and then proportionize everything around your phone. So again, 7 inches, give or take. Measure that out and then cut off the rest. And then what I did is, for me, that was still a little bit too long, and this was still hitting my wrist. So, hope you're not doing this in steps. Sorry, I completely forgot. Whenever I measured out like how far from my knuckle down to my wrist, I didn't mean to say to cut it. You don't cut it. You just measure out this where it is, and then you cut however long your screen size is gonna be. You don't already have to have this. I'm gonna explain how to do this in a sec. But about how big your screen size is gonna be, and then this little chunk right here. Okay, so for me, it's 6 to 7 inches, and that seems a lot, very, very proportionate. So, you measure that out, and for me, and then you cut it. Then you cut that, not where it should stop. You put it on, and then it should, you know, oh yeah, sorry, completely brain farted. So usually, if you're about my size, where it could stop was probably past where this is, or below. I can't exactly remember where it was, but anyways, you cut off the 6, 7 inches or however big you want your screen to be, and then you slip it on. And if it's still too big, what I did is those lines that I showed you earlier, as I cut little notches all the way around the tube, and I fanned them out a little bit, and then I slid it back on until I liked it. So the remaining piece right here, yeah, you can't really see it too well. I left a gap, so whenever you take the remaining piece and you just kind of cut the middle, and then you put it over because, you know, the actual thing is layered. Again, it's layered a lot more. If you want to do that, that's completely fine to me. It's just too bulky for me to actually make it to where it's functional and to the point where it fits and to where it's not too heavy. Because my other one, it doesn't completely fit snug, and even if it did, you know, your arm wants to go, anything in your arm wants to go that way because it's fatter, smaller. So, with the least amount of weight, that means you can run around and it won't like do the whole thing where you run and it flings up towards your hand or possibly even flings off. That's why I'm doing this, is because I'm actually going to be having this in a film. So, I did that. I took the remaining piece, cut the slit in it, and I put it on, but I didn't put it on to the point where it was completely tight. I left a little bit more of a gap to where I had a little bit more play so it could still fan out on the inside. See how there's a lip? It can still fan out a little bit. And then this bigger piece obviously is going to be, you know, about that size too. So you always want to put that in perspective. So you can also, if you have leftover Pringles can or anything that's like cardstock, you can fill that gap. For right now, I'm going to leave it how it is because it's going to be on the bottom for me. So if you don't want to worry about it, you can leave it on the bottom. You can always put some cardstock on the bottom there later. So now you should be at the step that I'm at. The way that I made my screen is different than the way that I made the screen on this one. There we go. The way that I did it, jeez, I can't wait until I can actually have this glued in. Hold on one sec. As you can see, it's just really insulation foam. So I just drew out as close as I could. Put it on here. Yeah, I'd say it's about the same size. And then on the bottom, of course, I had a guesstimate about how shallow and all that kind of stuff, how big the thing had to be, this tube, and I somehow got it almost perfect. So, not me bragging, I had an extreme amount of luck. You might not, so be careful with that. A good way to do this is eyeball it down, put it up to it, and then kind of like, you can, since it's so soft, you can even push against it, so then it leaves a little bit of ring, and then you know how much to cut out. But yeah, so right here, I just kind of cut out the back, so then I could put a screen, and I could fit electronics and stuff back here. And then this gap, I made a little bit too, not shallow, a little bit too deep, but it's okay, because I'll fill it with something. And then I'm going to stick this on here. And also this piece, again, it's really just the outline cut out, and then the fillers. This is it though. I'm still sorry I had to stretch to grab what I'm going to show you. Get off my foot. Yeah, I'm still using this stuff. I'm just gonna put it over everything that just doesn't want to be painted. Specifically this stuff. This stuff doesn't like to be painted on. It kind of just doesn't like it. So you want to cover as much of this stuff as possible. And specifically with thin craft foam. So yeah, the next part is literally to just glue this thing on. Now if you want a little bit more of an even spray job, you could just spray paint this real quick. I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to be putting so many layers on this that I'm afraid that the glue might chip off with the paint, because it's very real. A lot of people don't realize the fact that, you know, things are still chemicals, you know, things can still react to things, so, you know, a lot of people don't think that a glue gun can't go anywhere, you know, like, that's what happens on foam. As soon as you put the glue on here, you see bubbles and everything. It's because it's seeping in and it's kind of being part of the foam. It's not really chemical, but you know what I mean. Things can happen like that. So whenever you're building, always keep in mind that anything can happen. I'm not saying that your thing is just going to spontaneously explode on you, but make sure that, you know, the stuff that you're gluing and painting, there isn't going to be a reaction. Like with this stuff, whenever you paint it, it kind of melts. You don't want to paint on this. You want to cover as much of it as possible. And this with spray paint. I don't know about any other kind of paint, but definitely spray paint. So, I'm going to pause the video for you. It's going to be half a second, but for me it's going to be a little bit. I'm just going to glue this on here. Again, you can find out any other way. If there's other foam that you can carve out or anything, perfect. But that's just how I'm doing this one. So, I'm going to glue this on, and then we'll go on to the next step. I'm kind of doing this as I go. So, don't do this step by step while you're watching the video, because there's probably going to be some retakes like what just happened. So, I'm going to glue this on. For you guys, it's going to be half a second. Not even a second for you guys. For me, that took a little bit because it's a little bit weird to glue on, but you'll figure it out. I can't really explain it because everyone has their own, you know, problems whenever it comes to this. A few things I did notice. I'm gonna have to shave that off a little bit because obviously on mine it doesn't quite do that. It's a little bit weird, but it's okay. Also, one thing I did kind of fix was this, because I realized that I did too much thing there, but it's not gonna affect it too much. Another thing that I forgot to do was this upper lip thing, but I'm gonna do that with foam anyway, so it doesn't matter. And yet another thing, again, I recommend that you watch this video at least once over before you actually start making it. Always remember that the piece is kind of up above the actual Pip-Boy, not just face on. I think I got that proportionate. Yeah, pretty sure I got that close. Yeah, I got it. So, yeah, always make sure that you keep that in mind whenever you're carving this out, as you don't eyeball it right in the middle. You kind of go to the side a little bit. So next thing is to take some of this stuff and fold it over. I'm gonna have to measure out how I did it on that, and also for you guys, make the thingy. I'm not gonna do it only because, again, it's gonna look dumb, especially because you're gonna be on set at the same time. So fold it over. And yeah, just fold it over and then go along the brim. I'm not going to show you guys that because it's kind of self-explanatory. Again, you fold it over however tall you want it. For you guys, make it as tall as the highest point, so then you can cut down. For me, I'm just going to make one straight edge going all the way around, and then adding that lip on the top. Okay, so yeah, just go all the way around. You shouldn't have to cut anything because, like in the Fallout 4 one, you know, you had to fan it out. And this one you don't have to. So it's just one continuous loop all the way around up until the top. And the top, you know, yeah. Yeah, I'll be right back whenever that's done. Well, again, not even a second for you guys. So real quick, so finally got this double-edged strip. That took me way too long. And the reason why is you want to kind of do it in sections. So you go a little bit, and then you hold it down, and then you go a little bit, because obviously you've been working with hot glue a long time with me, you kind of learned the science, and that goes with anything with making props. Whenever you do it for a good long while, you kind of get used to the science behind things. I'll have a separate video on that, on prop making. I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but I've been doing it ever since I can remember. So I've kind of built up experiences. I'm not saying that I'm good. Like, there's just people out there that have been doing things for a long time. But just because you've been doing it for a long time doesn't mean that you're good at it. You're just good at the techniques. You know how things work. You know the science behind things. So I'll give you guys my 2 cents on it in some other video. And if I end up being wrong about something, or if I might even have some questions, it would be great if you guys could nicely correct me or answer my questions in that video. But, so, be back in half a second. So, I kind of made this, I didn't take in consideration the fact that this was already a raised edge. That's not a big problem, besides the fact that I glued it on upside down. I'm probably gonna take a knife to this. You know, I'm not gonna care, because, you know, side by side, yeah, you're gonna notice, but running around doing those kind of shots, I'm not gonna worry about it. What I am gonna worry about is the fact that I glued it on upside down. The seam is the side that you want upside down. So, since this foam underneath isn't that bad, it shouldn't be too hard. Nah, I'll leave it how it is, because that side's already going to be screwed up. So, on with the gluing. But yeah, make sure your seam is on the bottom, because then the edge will look nicer. But I failed. And I just got done telling you guys how we want to learn things, and this is one of them. So, yeah, it's like kind of dark in my room, so... And that I was also speed doing this. I just wasn't paying attention. I'm not dumb, I just wasn't paying attention. I'm gonna finish this. Right. So I finally got the brim in. I trimmed it a little bit from the original length, and after it's painted, it'll look better. So I finally got the lip in and everything. So that's all done. Also, kind of decided that if I run out of foam, I'm gonna go on a risk and just seal all this with white glue. I prefer Mod Podge, but I didn't have enough for it. So, yeah, that's where I stand with that. So right now, I'm gonna go with the same exact procedures that I went. I went from screen to this thing, and the last part was this, and that bottom hinge piece, this thing. So, I'm gonna, basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a strip of foam that is as thick as this, and meets up to this lip right here. This one, since it was all level, I was able to roll over, but I can't. So I'm gonna start from right here. Wrapping that down. I'm actually kind of running out of time here. So next thing that I'm gonna be doing is what I just told you. I'm gonna be taking a piece of foam, running it down, and then I'm going to work on this piece, that piece, and then we're done. Obviously, I'm probably gonna forget about this, probably not. I'm just gonna wrap this in foam, or if I run out of foam, I'm gonna seal it, and then spray paint it. Now, I spray painted mine more like the New Vegas, because New Vegas seemed a little bit more black than green, so I just spray painted the entire thing black, and then brushed over with some silver. I kind of went a little bit too crazy in some areas, like right there, but otherwise, I mean, paint it however you want, because there are mods and everything. I actually painted my Fallout 4 one the same exact color. I'm going to add a little bit of brushed on green, but otherwise, I don't know, I like the color. So, yeah, next part is what I'm going to be doing. Bye.